At Ferrari, controversies are not dying down. During the Las Vegas F1 Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc reacted strongly to a borderline situation with which he did not agree. He did so over the team radio, after crossing the finish line, visibly angry about how things had unfolded. His complaint was directed at his teammate Carlos Sainz, who, according to the Monegasque, had once again failed to adhere to the Maranello team's pre-race strategies established during the customary Sunday morning briefings. This refers to the incident that occurred right after the Monegasque's second pit stop to fit the last set of hard tires. Car number 16 re-entered the track and positioned itself ahead of Carlos Sainz's car. The Spanish driver's tires, with 4 laps of wear, had already completed their warm-up process and were offering superior grip at that moment. Conversely, Charles Leclerc was performing a slow introduction in order to avoid excessive stress on the tires and ensure their estimated lifespan. Within this competitive context, car number 55 was faster, and once it reached its teammate's rear, the Spaniard wasted no time overtaking the other Ferrari. The two red cars continued their pursuit of Max Verstappen, and during the final laps, both managed to overtake the Dutchman, who offered little resistance, focusing instead on his championship. According to some, the Spaniard had no choice but to pass his teammate, as the priority was to avoid losing valuable time chasing Max. Others, however, view his behavior as disrespectful, arguing that, no longer being accountable to a team that has effectively replaced him with Hamilton, the Spaniard is prioritizing himself and feels free to be disobedient. For Ferrari, however, the outcome remains unchanged. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz crossed the finish line side by side at the 6.2-kilometer Las Vegas Strip circuit in Nevada, and even swapping positions, their combined points total still amounted to 27. The difference lies in the drivers' standings, where Charles Leclerc still has a chance to aim for second place. The Monegasque driver himself mentioned this to the media, emphasizing that from now on, in the last 2 Formula One races they will contest together, he will focus primarily on himself. In front of the microphones, Charles Leclerc refrains from being harsh, although he comments on the events in his own way, while Carlos Sainz refuses to respond, reiterating that dirty laundry is washed at home. Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur must now work to keep the team united until the end of the 2024 Formula One Championship. Do Ferrari's 2 drivers no longer tolerate each other? Many smiles for the cameras, in ceremonial photos and during Ferrari events. But is the friendship over? It could be, who knows? But the real question is this: is it really necessary to fuel such a controversy at such a delicate moment in the history of the prancing horse? Yes, because the Italian team is fighting for a championship. Or rather, it is trying to close a gap with McLaren, accumulated during the months when the SF24 cars struggled tremendously with the technical update to the floor, developed under the technical direction of Italian aerodynamicist Enrico Cardile. Frederic Vasseur is thinking about this issue. For the French manager, tying his name to Ferrari in his second year with the historic team would be fantastic, a crowning achievement for his hard work, as well as an enormous source of satisfaction for all the fans. As the leader of this group, the Frenchman had to address this situation with the media. First, however, he commented on the race, a complicated affair, especially in the first stint, where difficulties in managing the compounds effectively weakened the 2 SF24 cars. This problem reappeared at the end of the second stint as well. Fortunately, in the third stint, things improved. With less fuel on board, the Maranello team's cars performed significantly better. Summing up, the Frenchman stated that the team did well to limit the damage. All true. Nonetheless, his thoughts turned to the points lost, as beating Mercedes would have brought Ferrari even closer to the Woking team. This is particularly relevant considering that next Sunday in Qatar, executing the weekend flawlessly will not be easy given the layout, which does not favor the red cars. Pressed by the media, the former Alfa Romeo boss eventually addressed the issue of the drivers, a difficult situation to manage due to its complexities. Frederic Vasseur could not avoid dealing with it, but in a way, he managed to sidestep it. He prepared a response to calm tensions, delivering a speech about strategy. He explained that the tire strategy created confusion and frustration as it caused both Ferrari drivers to lose significant race time. Such a scenario can happen, as can the natural frustration that follows. "You have to understand them," said the Frenchman. All of this served to gloss over the issue and focus on the fact that he had not spoken to the drivers. A shame, considering he was present, on the track, on the pit wall, on the radio, and thus knows very well about Charles Leclerc's outburst, whether it was justified or not. However, he prefers to postpone any discussion until later, behind closed doors, during the debriefing. According to information gathered directly at the track, the discussions reviewing the work done were quite heated, but this was to be expected when misunderstandings arise. Before the race weekend, and even before the race itself, Ferrari was considered the favorite for victory in Las Vegas, as the long straights and slow corners suited the SF24 well. However, there were uncertainties linked to the ambient temperatures. In hindsight, the low temperatures limited the SF24's performance. However, the favorable layout allowed the Italian team to achieve third and fourth place in the Las Vegas Grand Prix. According to the Maranello team, this result could have been better with improved execution during the race, as both drivers might have been able to contend for second and third place with Lewis Hamilton. It is equally clear that, in Las Vegas, the SF24 was the second-best car on track. Nonetheless, graining unexpectedly hampered the Italian car, to the point where Charles Leclerc compared the problems experienced in the final kilometers on the yellow tires to those caused by a puncture. This also caught Ferrari's strategists off guard, leading to confusion, an issue that still arises during critical moments. This is an area where Frederic Vasseur must work extensively to provide Leclerc and Hamilton next year not only with a top car, but also with a team fully equipped to compete for the championship. Las Vegas simply demonstrates that in this sport, you have to execute everything perfectly. Ferrari has done an excellent job in terms of strategy and race management throughout most of the year, but last weekend that wasn't the case, as Carlos Sainz rightly pointed out. Poor race execution, and above all, a lack of clarity were at the root of the post-race chaos between the two Maranello drivers. It stemmed from unclear communication. Riccardo Adami, Carlos Sainz's race engineer, instructed his driver not to put pressure on Charles Leclerc, while Brian Bozzi, Charles Leclerc's engineer, initially told the Monegasque that Carlos Sainz had been instructed not to overtake him, only to later correct this to, "He was told not to put you under pressure." It is evident that Riccardo Adami's instruction to Carlos Sainz was not explicitly to avoid overtaking, just as it is clear that the Spanish driver used his cunning to take advantage of the situation. Utilizing his already warmed tires and better traction out of Turn 4, the future Williams driver quickly overtook his Maranello teammate on the straight without applying pressure, securing an important podium but understandably provoking Charles Leclerc's anger after the race. This is nothing that has not happened in any F1 team during a competitive campaign. Highlighting, revisiting, and commenting on the facts is undoubtedly appropriate. However, making a big issue out of it seems rather excessive, especially at a time when it is crucial to keep a group working together as they fight for the 2024 Formula One World Constructors' Championship. The driver's intelligence must not be overshadowed by their emotions, and in the next two race weekends, the primary objective remains to support the team and achieve the best possible results. If the two Ferrari drivers cannot stand each other, or at least the respect between them is no longer what it once was, so be it. Their paths will soon diverge. What matters now is not regretting losing a championship over issues stemming from internal conflict. That would be unacceptable. If McLaren proves better and deserves the title, they will be applauded as rivals. But helping the Woking team win this championship through the driver's behavior driven by selfishness and internal rivalry would deeply hurt Ferrari. Frederic Vasseur must work on this for a necessary truce.